thoughts, baby.
Parallel
I'm
thoughts. And I'm Necrozak.
The dude chanting? Yeah, that's Necrozak. We're here to showcase two vastly different decks. Because Zach and I here, we don't have any symmetry when we're brewing together, so we thought we would take it into our own hands, and then we're gonna slap it together. Will the two decks work? I don't. Yes, no. I'm not really. I don't really.
I
care.
mean, what does
Tell you the truth, I hope it works.
what does work to?
But even if it doesn't, you're gonna tell us in the comments whose you thought is better and which one you're gonna build around, or are you gonna be as weird as us and are you gonna put both these into one deck?
What does working together really mean, though?
Unlike the other episodes, though, this one's a little different. We are definitely not throwing both of our decks into one, technically. Why is that, Zach?
Today, you guys lucked out, and it's happy hour because you're getting two for the price of one.
Two for one?
Yes.
How so?
So, our commanders for this episode are Thrasios Triton Hero, a very big boogeyman for our format, and the Prismatic Piper, who we really actually wanted to build around. So Prismatic Piper, if you're unfamiliar, is a 5-cost common legendary creature shapeshifter, and when it enters the battlefield, before the game begins, you choose color, and Prismatic Piper is that color, and it has partner. So the whole concept is that Benson picked a 3-color pairing, I picked a 3-color pairing, and we built 2 decks to showcase on this episode.
You're in for a dumb ride, kids.
Oh yeah,
buckle in.
These are good decks. These are good decks.
I mean, I'm in Bant. I don't build with white. I took a stab at it. It's a hot mess, but it's my hot mess.
So
my brain, to give you, for everyone listening or watching, to give you an example about what happened to me with this deck. There's a scene in Talladega Nights where Ricky Bobby, he's in an interview, and then he kind of just says, I don't know what to do with my hands. Well, my brain didn't know what to do with its brain. I just threw some things together that I thought were janky, and like I said, I don't build white. I don't have any decks with white. If I did, this is the dumb deck I would build. But first off, we'll save the best for last, Zach. Do you want to get into your pile?
Of course. So I gave Benson the option of what colors he wanted to go with, and I ended up with Sultai.
Terrible life choice. Life choice.
I offered to do Bant. I did. And he said, no, I wanted to build with white. I said, okay. So we're doing Sultai for my build. So if you're unfamiliar, that means Prismatic Piper is going to be black in this situation. And with how we did this deck, it was we decided what cards we were going to use together, and then off screen we decided on our ramp, our interaction, and cards that we were going to put in both decks. But primarily right now we're going to focus on my list, and we'll move to Benson's, and we'll knock the rest out at the end. So I decided what I wanted to do was a shapeshifter build with, of course, reanimation and cloning effects, because
surprise, you give Zach Sultai, and he does his 3 favorite things.
Yeah,
no way.
We do get to steal.
No way.
We do get to steal.
Mind blown.
So we're gonna go through my list, and we'll go through Benson's. Starting off, we actually have a card that is in both decks, but I have to talk about it in my version first. So we're dealing with Alter the Brood. It's a 1-cost artifact. Whenever another permanent ETBs under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So what better way to steal people's stuff by making them discard it or mill it so you can reanimate it? A great way to reanimate is with Animate Dead. There is a billion lines of text on here. Just know you enchant a creature card in a graveyard, then it's yours. And it's neg1, nego.
That's the new Oracle text.
Yeah, I'm not reading all that. I will, however, read this card because this card's sweet. If you don't look through Weatherlight, you need to, because Weatherlight has so many cool, weird cards. It's phenomenal. So, Bone Dancer. It's a zombie. It's a 2/2 for 3. Not great rates. But you can pay 0. You put the top creature card of defending player's graveyard into play under your control. Bone Dancer deals no combat damage this turn. Uses ability only if Bone Dancer is attacking and is unblocked and only once each turn. So, really weird. All we're trying to do is hope people, flip something from the top of their deck into the grave that you want to steal. We do have ways to give Bone Dancer evasion, so you can always guarantee you're going to get that reanimation effect. But yeah, that's why Altar of Brood and other cards are going to be very, very good. Buried Alive is a pseudo tutor in this deck. 2 and a black versus sorcery. You're just going to search for 3 creatures, throw them in the graveyard. We like to do that. I like to do that. It's a party. Next card is
nothing like a party. Like, hey guys, come over. We're getting buried alive. It'll be fun.
It's a graveyard smash.
I don't. Oh god. Go on. Just go
on. The next card is Cemetery Puka. It's 1 and hybrid Dimir. It's also a shapeshifter. It's a 1/2. Whenever a creature card is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 1. If you do, Cemetery Puka becomes a copy of that creature and gains this ability. So this is another really fun card that I think is really overlooked in a lot of decks. A lot of decks can really take advantage of this card. So anytime something dies, you just can have it become this.
Seems fair.
I would say no mill deck is worth its salt if it doesn't play a Codex Shredder. So that's 1 for an artifact. You tap, target player mills a card, then you can pay 5, tap and sack it. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So at worst, you can get a card back. At best, you just make someone mill a card, which was fine. We want to steal things. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think we would be in Sultai without running this guy. It's Consuming Aberration. You could play it in Dimir, but it's better in Sultai. 3 blue and a black for a star horror. Consuming Aberration's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card. Put the cards that they reveal this way into the graveyard. So cards like Altar.
Yeah, just because this card doesn't have evasion doesn't mean that you shouldn't be scared of it. Like, this thing is terrifying.
There are plenty of, like I said, there are plenty of ways to give it evasion too, but yeah, just it almost sets on the battlefield and acts as like a enchantment for the most part, right? Anytime we cast a spell, so anytime we play magic, you're going to make people mill. And with stuff like Altar the Brood and Codex Shredder, Consuming Aberration just becomes massive on its own. So, once again, worst case, it's the best blocker you're going to have. Best case, it just kills someone by swinging. It's fun.
It's fun.
More graveyard tutoring. We have Corpse Connoisseur. 4 and a...
Are you sure that you just didn't make like an Oracle text deck? Like, all these cards that I'm seeing right here just have like wall-to-wall text.
Yeah, basically. When you've played with the cards as long as I have, you just know what they do.
Okay. Well, for those who don't know what this card does, get back into it.
Corpse Connoisseur is a 3/3 zombie wizard. When it ETBs, you can search your library for a creature card and put it into your graveyard. Then if you do, shuffle your library. And it has Unearth for 3 and a black, so you can pay 3 and a black, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield, then exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Or if it would be put into the graveyard. So, or I'm sorry, if it would leave the battlefield. So this guy is just another Buried Alive and Entomb type effect, but on a creature, which is kind of better.
Now, with that, just to clarify, is it on a stick or is it on a body when it's an ability? Because I've heard both. I thought on a stick meant like you could slap that on an Isochron Scepter. I thought that's what it was.
I would say on a body, right? Because
on a body.
Yeah, playing with you and kind of knowing how you like to brew, on a stick definitely makes me think of Scepter.
I don't play it. I do.
And it's not even like you abuse it. You just want to do silly things. Like
Narset's reversal.
Well, no, that's not silly. That's abusive.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know. You've done some things that I've been like, oh.
Truth comes out. Okay, maybe I hold that deck back a little bit.
You know what you've done, Orvar. You know. Back to the better version of this deck, we have Dimir Doppelganger. 1 a blue and a black for, you guessed it, a shapeshifter. It's a 0/2. You can pay 1 a blue and a black. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Dimir Doppelganger becomes a copy of that card, except it has this ability. So, once again, really good graveyard removal. And also, if you've been milling people with Altar or Consuming Aberration or Codex Shredder, you can just get potentially one of their best creatures in their deck.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to mention. So all the cards that we're going to be naming off that aren't artifacts, we gave ourselves a stipulation.
Oh, yes.
Each card that we chose had to have the color that we picked. So that's why some of these, like, you know, there could be better cards out there in Sultai colors or in Bant colors. However, yeah, we gave ourselves a stipulation. It has to have the color that we picked.
I should specify there definitely aren't better cards than the ones I'm naming.
Oh, there's definitely better cards than my list, but we'll get to that.
So, once again, no black deck would be worth its salt if we weren't playing Entomb. 1 black instant, search your library for a card, that card into the graveyard, then shuffle your library. People so often forget that it's just any card. So you can hit cards with flashback, or anything that has like a graveyard effect, maybe even a land. We're going to be hitting creatures, but it is an option. It's something you should definitely remember. Evil Twin is the next thing on our list. It's 2 blue and a black for a shapeshifter. It's a 0/0. You may have Evil Twin ETB as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it gains a blue and a black. Tap, destroy target creature with the same name as this creature.
I'd argue in that art which one was the more evil one. I don't know.
It's hard to say. But I will say this much: it is good removal, and it's fun because you can kind of politic with it, right? You know, like you play something cool.
You can politic with it. I'm terrible at it.
I try, but then it just doesn't work because my board gets wiped. But if that happens, you have stuff like Extract from Darkness, 3 a blue and a black for a sorcery. Each player mills 2 cards, so this can help us in our game plan. Then you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Notice it says a graveyard, so someone mills
a graveyard.
Yeah, someone mills something with the hotness. It's now your hotness, and
your hotness.
And we're just sharing the wealth, you know? That's really what this deck is about. Group 11.
Yeah.
No card.
Oh, that's why you go into Dimir and Sultai.
Yeah. Group no card better represents group love than Filth. It's 3 and a black for a 2/2 incarnation. It has Swamp Walk. As long as Filth is in your graveyard and you control a swamp, your creatures you control have Swamp Walk.
Before I met my wife, this card described me to a T, and then she cleaned me up.
Hey, you know, that's what wives are for. They make us better people. Shout out to my stinky wife.
Agreed.
So this is the evasion I was hinting at earlier when I was burying the lead. Filth will almost always be in our graveyard. I will find some way to make sure it goes into our graveyard, and we will have Swamp Walk because, spoilers, we are playing Urborg. Not Cabal Coffers, just Urborg. Another guy that's often...
Good of you. That's actually, you know what? That's very noble of you.
Cabal Coffers just isn't needed. We're already playing the best color in Magic. We're in black. Like, why would I need Cabal Coffers? It just seems like win more, you know?
Same reason why I would need a $500 legendary. No, sorry. You go ahead.
Next guy on our list is Geth, Lord of the Vault. 4 black for a legendary creature zombie. It's a 5/5 with Intimidate. You can pay X and a black. Put target artifact or creature card with converted mana cost X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Tap. Then that player mills X cards. So this is nice when with Osgir running around so much. Yeah, go ahead and put that Mycosynthetis. Go ahead and put that Dark Still Forge into the graveyard. I'm gonna rip it from you. And they have to do it at sorcery speed. We're doing it at instant speed.
Instant speed. Heck yeah.
Yeah, get the suite.
Okay. All right. I can see. Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
I wouldn't have come up with this, but I can see where you're going with this, and it's pretty decent.
Oh man, we still got so much sweet stuff. Like Ghoul Caller's Bell. It's 1 for an artifact. You tap. Each player puts a top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. I really wish I could have found some more. I could have found some threshold cards to really take advantage of our graveyard being full, but we have a lot of things to abuse without needing threshold. And this also just gets us more stuff in our opponent's graveyard. We're not trying to mill people out. We're literally trying to take the best stuff from them.
Yeah, the reason I said, oof, that's a 1-drop, and you can pop that right away, that's not too shabby.
Not at all.
That's that common?
Yeah, from Innistrad. Innistrad was a great set.
No doubt.
Next card, and I'm calling it by its proper name, which is Gigan, Cyberclaw Terror. It's 4...
Its proper name.
Its proper name. Gigan's my favorite kaiju. So it's 4 hybrid Dimir. It's a legendary creature, Demon Kraken. It's a 6/6. It has companion. We're not doing that. When Gigan enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and you can put a creature card with even CMC from among them onto the battlefield under your control. So this hits our stuff. This hits their stuff. Once again, if we have something cool, it goes in. If they have something cool, it goes in instead.
It goes in. Yeah.
We can also make copies of Gigan. There's a lot of stuff.
Disgusting. That's disgusting.
Modern All-Star until it got banned. Lantern of Insight. 1.
What's modern?
It's I'm told it's a good format. I don't know. But Lantern of Insight was in it and it was really cool. We're not using it that way because this is Commander. It's 1 for an artifact. Each player plays with the top card of his or her library revealed. Then taps Sacrifice Lantern of Insight. Target player shuffles his or her library. So we're playing this so that we know what a person has on top of their library. So we can not only see what we have and can kind of help set up if we have tutors or we're playing fetch lands, but we can also see what other people are doing. So if we want to specifically target someone with like Codex Shredder or something like that to set up for big plays, or just be proactive knowing, oh man, I need to hold back this like negate or a counter spell or something like that.
See, I like this because with my bias, like I had no idea that this was a modern All-Star.
Oh yeah,
I just think it's a cool commander card.
Dude, it was a whole thing.
I don't even know how to break it with the format with what is it, 4 of each card?
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know what
it was
to
a
do.
wild deck. It was very, very complex. Like, you not only had to know how to play the deck, but as your opponent, the opponent had to know when they lost. Because because it became a time thing. If you didn't know when it got too far in, you would actually just lose both matches because you didn't have enough time to play the second match or your third match. It was very complex. Yeah.
I'll stick to one of. I'll stick to the commander format. Thanks.
Yeah, and if I got any of that wrong, which I don't think I did, but if I did, don't be too harsh on me. I just play commander.
There's no modern players listening.
Well, you never know. So we're moving on to...
If you are, don't. No, please don't.
We're moving on to some of my favorite creatures in the next 2, which is Lazav Dimir Mastermind. 2 blue, 2 black. Legendary creature Shapeshifter. It's a 3/3 with hexproof. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may have Lazav Dimir Mastermind become a...
Anywhere.
Yes, anywhere. Become a copy of that card, except its name is Lazav Dimir Mastermind. It's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has hexproof and this ability. Lazav is insane. I've built Lazav Dimir Mastermind, Lazav the Multifurious, and both those decks are so much fun. Putting Lazav into a shell like this, where you can constantly guarantee someone's stuff is going into the graveyard, and you have stuff like Lantern and of Insight to really take advantage of like knowing what Lazav is going to become. It's sweet.
Ooh, yeah. And speaking of the other Lazav
the Multifurious, blue and a black for, you guessed it, a legendary creature Shapeshifter, 1/3.
No.
Yep. When this Lazav ETBs, you get to surveil 1. So you look at the top card of your library, you can leave it on top or put it into your graveyard. Then you can pay X, and Resolve the Multifarious becomes a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with CMC X, except its name is Resolve the Multifarious. It's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has this ability. So, once again, if we want to do some like cheeky stuff, we can pump our graveyard full of our cool cards and just have Resolve turn into those at different stages, whether it be during the declared attackers or blockers. Like, Resolve is sweet. If you haven't played one before, you should definitely look into building one of those two decks. No.
And if you don't want to build a Resolve, but you still want to play probably the gnarliest, in my opinion, Dimir card, Mind Grind.
You can play it in this deck. I will say that I've had a game where I was playing Resolve Dimir Mastermind, and I made someone mill a what's his name? The card that triples your mana. Forgotten Ancient? No, not Forgotten Ancient. I can't think of his name. It's the green guy. Whatever. Nyxbloom Ancient from the Void.
Nyxbloom Ancient.
I had someone mill a Nyxbloom Ancient, and I had Mind Grain in hand, and guess who milled off the table? This guy. So, Mind Grind, X blue and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals X land cards, then puts all cards revealed this way into his or her graveyard. X can't be 0.
Thanks for the save, Director Brian.
Yes. Unfortunately, he had to help with that alley-oop, but you know what? A W's a W. Next card is Mind Crank, 2 for an artifact. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So what's nice is this is just life loss. It doesn't mean combat damage has to be dealt or you have to deal damage to someone. You could easily have your opponents doing damage to each other, causing them to mill, or they can simply crack a fetch land or shock in a land. If Mind Crank is on the battlefield, they're milling cards.
Disgusting.
This card probably isn't necessary, but when I get to play it, I like to. It's Mirror Gallery. It's 5 for an artifact, and it says the legend rule doesn't apply. Now, granted,
doesn't apply.
This is symmetrical, so it hits the entire board, which causes a very fun, calls for very wild, I guess I should say, commander games, because if anyone's playing clones, stuff just gets nutty. But for us, it allows us to make our clones bigger, meaner creatures, but we can also be doing silly stuff like having 2 gets and being able to get in with a bunch more damage, or playing a second Gigan off something weird. That's what we're trying to do.
Weird stuff.
So I put in some of the lands that are specific to my deck. So Morphic Pool, it's just good. Don't really need to go over that. I will talk about Necromancy though, because that is my jam. It's Suna Black for an enchantment. There is a lot of text. Just
because he's the necromancer with all the answers.
Yes. Just know you can play Necromancy as an instant, but you sacrifice a creature at the end of the turn. Otherwise, you can put a creature card from any graveyard onto the battlefield, and it's tapped. Then you have to pay to untap it. It's a whole thing. It's good.
And no art has haunted me more.
I think that's a shrunken head. I know it's not, but it feels like it, right?
It's already into my soul. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. It's tapping my brain, eating at my soul fire.
Mm-hmm.
Just scroll down.
No, I want you to stare into its eyes. Let's see if it tells us all the answers. Do I know you? Have we played this?
You'll have to see those terrible answers when my deck list comes up.
Oh, yeah, and this creature doesn't come into play tapped. I said that. I'm thinking of a different card. It doesn't.
It'll all come in.
Overgrown Tomb. It's in our colors. Moving on. Rise of the Dark Realms. We've been spending all game milling people, putting crap into graveyards. Guess what? We're going to cast Rise of the Dark Realms for 9 mana, 2 of which black, 7 of it whatever color you want. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. This is what you want to do in Commander. You want to play big splashy spells and make your friends furious because they didn't do anything to stop you.
Now, I don't know how you'd be able to pop that off in a game of Jumpstart. Like if you were to actually draft it, but it's still it's still sweet.
Dude, I would have drafted it. I wouldn't have cared. I don't really know, but I would have done it. I probably would have lost to everyone who pulled an Allosaurus Shepherd because that's probably how those games went.
I pulled 3 of those and a Crater Hoof.
Some gnarly I did cards. Something similar, but it was with Bruvac and Branching Evolution and something else. Next reanimation creature is Sepulchral Primordial. It's 5 black for an avatar. It has Intimidate, good evasion. It's a 5/4, and when it ETBs, for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. We're good. Just reanimating. Really We've been doing it. Might as well keep doing it. This, I think, Sword of Body and Mind is kind of one of the more underrated swords as well, but it does what we want to do. It gives us protection from 2 colors. It's a 3-drop artifact. It equips for 2. Your equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and blue. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a 2/2 green wolf. That's not why it's in the deck. That player mills 10 cards. That's why it's in the deck. That's why. You want to hit it, man. You know? Siphon Mine is 3 and a black for a sorcery. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. It's just a good card. You can't make people mill stuff if it's in their hands, but you can make them discard stuff.
True.
Sir Conrad the Grim just kind of feels like this is his home. A deck like this.
And with Mindcrank.
Yeah.
That's just gross.
It's 3 black for a legendary creature, Human Knight, 5/4. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then you pay 1 to black. Each player mills a card. So yeah, Mindcrank triggers is rough. If we have Hall of Mirror out, or what I say was Mirror Gallery, and
Mirror Gallery,
we make copies of this guy, it just gets to be a very bad time for anyone who isn't you, and that's what we're here for.
That's definitely what we're here for.
More lands. We have Undergrowth Stadium, just another good one. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, so we can ensure that our creatures have Swamp Walk. This card's really sweet. I don't get to play with it very often. It's Volrath the Fallen. It's 3 and triple back for a legend. I wanted to say he's Shapeshifter now, but I'm not entirely sure.
I think so. I think he is. Either way, this card slaps.
Yeah, he's a 6/4. You can pay 1 to black, discard a creature card from your hand. Volrath the Fallen gets +X/+X until the end of turn, where X is the discarded card's CMC. So this guy is in here to be able to legitimately slap people. We have a bunch of high CMC cards. Well, specifically, it has to be creature, whatever. We have a bunch of high CMC creature cards, which perfectly fine, but we also want to be able to get cards into our graveyard to cheat them out. So Volrath allows that to happen. And he's a big old body.
Big old body. 6/4?
Yeah. And that's before all the cool stuff. And he'll have Swamp Walk. Speaking of Swamp, gross. We have a Watery Grave. Then we have Whetstone. It's 3 for an artifact. You pay 3. Each player...
I've never heard of this card before.
It's sweet. You pay 3. Each player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. We're milling them. We're doing it. I'm not trying to mill you out. I'm just trying to take your stuff.
Is that your table politics?
You can't be mad at... You can't be...
Listen.
Look. You can't...
I'm not trying to mill you.
You can't say I'm milling you out, because that's not true. I'm just milling you some so I can take your stuff. If you're dead, I don't have your stuff anymore. So what would milling you out do for me? I'm just trying to get to your good stuff.
I'm sold there.
I'm just trying to get to your good stuff.
You won me over. Yeah.
So that I can play with it. Huh. I think there's a voice from beyond said something about bad politics, but they don't have a voice, so they don't matter. Next card is Whisper Steel Dagger. It's 2 and a black for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever a crypt creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a creature spell. That's weird. That's worded that way. Cast a creature spell from that player's graveyard this turn. You may spend mana as though were any color to cast that spell, and it equips for 3. This is just another cool way to reanimate stuff. So if we can't guarantee it from the 20 billion reanimate spells that I have in this deck, this one is a more surefire way, I feel like, to do it, and it's a little bit more flashy. The final card on my side of the deck is just a Zaggoth Triumph. So it's in our colors. There's no reason not to play it. So that is my version of the deck. We are milling to reanimate and clone.
Yeah. And that's typically what I'd expect coming out of you, Mr. Reanimate, Clone, and Unearth. I think, let's see, how many Unearth cards are there? How many Clone cards are there? Yeah, that's completely... that's you.
I'm a simple man.
Now, so I built with white, and either I'm incredibly stupid, or this is a masterpiece.
Well,
it's a coin
this
flip.
First card already... yeah, it's good.
It's a coin flip. So, I like to combo off. And with the stipulation of it having to have white, I don't build with white, so I was very limited. So I went with comboing off with colorless as my theme here. So the way my deck works is either I'm going to cast Prismatic Piper a ton and build up a storm count, or to hurt you or mill you, or you know what? Here, let's just
twinsies.
Get into it. Twinsies. So first card I got on there is Altar of Dementia. So 2 colorless artifact. You sacrifice a creature, and target player puts a number of cards equal to that creature's power into their graveyard. Phenomenal. And I guess, it would look like I'm kind of leaning Zach's way, but that's not the case here.
I love it already.
I went so many different routes. Okay, so it's going to be all out of order. I'm going alphabetical here to give you a just, and I'll try to tie in as much as I can. But this is White Storm, Exalted, and Combo.
So what you're saying, your deck is your version of the deck is very resilient and has many lines of play, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Well, if you want to make me sound smart like that, I'm all for it.
Hey, buddy, you're a smart guy.
So to get off with the Voltron Ask the Exalted, we have Angelic Benediction. That is 3 colorless and a white. Exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you may tap target creature. I don't care about that second part. I'm sure it's going to come in handy. I just want that +1/+1.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. Ashnod's Altar ties into the infinite mana that I'm going to try to create. It's also just a good sack outlet. 3 colorless, you sacrifice a creature, you add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Great.
I don't think enough people play just sack outlets in their deck. Even if your deck isn't about graveyard recursion, just being able to ensure that someone isn't exiling your stuff, just a sack outlet's good to have.
The next, God, my deck's so dumb. The next card I have here is a Sure to Assemble. Now I'm gonna have to cock my head left because I'm never gonna put a card like this in there again because I don't want to read sideways like this anymore. A Sure is hybrid Celestia. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and then that creature becomes indestructible until end of turn. So I'm trying to protect Prismatic Piper because why go after Thrasios when you have an unstoppable force such as Prismatic Piper on the field? You got to protect Piper. The other half of that, I guess, relevant. You assemble 4 colorless, a green and a white, and you get to create a couple of 2/2 green creature tokens.
With Vigi.
But we're in it more for the...
with Vigilance.
With Vigilance, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. We want again, I had to stay in the confines of white and get fancy with it. You could use the other thing for blockers, sure. This next card. This next card. I'm sure no one has heard of this
I haven't.
It's the white storm card. Astral Steel. 2 colorless and a white. Target creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn. Storm. So the game plan here is we're gonna try to cast Piper infinite times, and then we're gonna try to put some boots on it, and we're gonna swing for a lot. We're gonna swing for the kill.
Is the goal to swing with so much damage that it just inherently kills the rest of the table?
So you swing, and then you could also, if you have Altar of Dementia out,
yeah,
you could swing, kill one person, and then you can mill them. Anyway, it's arguably the best storm card in the color pie. Up next, we have some color fixing for me. Avacyn's Pilgrim, just a green for a creature human monk, and you tap it to add a white to your mana pool. More cards I regret putting in. These fuse cards. Okay. Though this one's pretty relevant, with me trying to cast Piper infinite amount of times, you have Beck and Call. Beck is a green and a blue. Whenever a creature card enters the battlefield this turn, you can draw a card. The only reason why I was able to put that card in this deck is because the white on Call, which is 4 colorless, a white and a blue, and you get to put 4 1/1 white bird tokens with flying onto the battlefield. So, again, we're gonna try to draw our whole deck here. You gotta draw that storm card. You gotta dig right down to get your finisher. God, never building with white again.
This is a sweet card.
This one's not bad. Benevolent Bodyguard costs a white. A human cleric. I needed some sort of evasion. I didn't want to rely just on artifacts. I wanted to get as creative as possible, make white worth it to put in. So this guy is sacrifice him, and you get target creature gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So once you've storm counted 10,000 and you have your Astral Steel, and your Prismatic Piper is, I guess, a 1,005, 1,007 because of that +2 on the back there. You're going to want a little evasion. Boreal Druid, I'll start because I only care about casting Prismatic Piper, so I don't need a color. Add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Perfect. Cathedral of War is one of the lands I have here, and that is because it enters the battlefield tapped. No, it's because it has the word Exalted on there. You tap it for a colorless, perfect, but it's Exalted. We're buffing up. We're buffing up Prismatic Piper. Even if we can't storm off, he's going to be thick.
Someone could easily die.
It's going to be
Someone could easily die to commander damage.
Oh, That's what we're going for. That's one of the lines. Now, Derevi. Derevi, Imperial Tactician, is in this deck. Green, white, and a blue. He's flying. He's a bird wizard. When he enters the battlefield, you get to... I'm sorry, I'm just laughing about my dumb combo lines here. When he enters the battlefield or you deal damage to a creature, you get to tap or untap target permanent. So, Derevi, Eldrazi Displacer, which I'll get into there afterwards, and Amelia, the Blessed. These are part of the combo to create infinite colorless mana in order to cast Prismatic Piper as many times. So the line that you would want with this one would be Eldrazi Displacer, Derevi, and Scorched. What is that card now? I can't think of it because... Scorched Ruins. Okay. So we heard Derevi, Eldrazi Displacer, 2 colorless and a white. Devoid, it has no color. It's friends with Piper, I'm sure. And then 2 generic and a colorless, and you get to exile another target creature and then return it to the battlefield tapped under your control. So Derevi is going to leave, it's going to come back in, and we get to untapped Scorched Ruins over and over, which gains us infinite colorless mana. Eldrazi Displacer can be replaced, of course, with Emil the Blessed, which is 2 colorless, white. It has the ability of 3 colorless, exile a target creature you control and bring it back to the battlefield under your control. The other ability, I'm not too worried about it, but I got to scooch in now because I pulled a Zach with all this crazy Oracle text. Whenever a creature is just the battlefield under your control, you can pay Celestia Hybrid. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on it, and if it's a unicorn, you get to do more fun things instead. Now, my pile, if you're going to put my 30 cards in, it does say that it's $784 US. And I have to skip ahead a little bit here. The reason why it's so pricey is because the other way to create infinite mana is with Rasputin, the Dreamweaver. He is from Legends. Now, A Tale from the Pit. Mark Rosewater recently posted about how there's not a whole lot of dream weaving going on these days. So Rasputin Dreamweaver actually is rebranding, and he's going to be Rasputin the Self-Esteem Right, so like I was just like, oh, Self-Esteem, like that's great. Like maybe I can give him a chance in this deck. Now this has really small font, so bear with me here, guys. So yeah, 4 colors, a white and a blue. When he comes in, put 7 counters on him. You may remove one of those counters to prevent a damage or to add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Play this ability as an interrupt. And then put one or more counters on during your upkeep, and he'll tap. Essentially, it's a lot of janky font afterwards, but with Eldrazi Displacer or Emil, you're just going to keep popping off that infinite mana. So you're going to bring him in, you're going to take 4 counters off him, you're going to net that 1 colorless, and you're going to be able to bounce him again with the bounce abilities of Emil or Eldrazi Displacer. So that we can again cast Piper as many times as we want to alter the Dementia or to build up a storm count. No matter what way you go with this, whatever line you choose, I'm sure you'll have a blast. Or again, you could just be thinking I'm crazy.
I have a thought about your pile at the end, so remind me, because it's actually a compliment, but I want you to keep talking about your cards.
Well, Zach, if you compliment me at the end of this, that'll be my finest hour. Also, in this deck, finest hour. 2 colorless and Bant, green, white, blue. It's an enchantment, and it says Exalted. Crazy. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase, untap that creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Piper is getting in.
Easily.
And to help him even further, we have Forsaken Monument, 5 colorless, legendary artifact. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Fear the Piper. Whenever you tap a permanent 4 colorless, you get to add another colorless. Hey, Boreal Druid. How's it going, bud? Look at that. You tap for 2. Moving on up. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. Is that us? Do we just get to gain infinite life? I think so.
It sure seems that way.
Bonkers. You could do that. There's a 4th line. I didn't even read that last part. I just got excited about pumping them up. We can gain infinite life. That's dope. All right, moving on. I'm even more excited about my own build now. Giver of Runes for 1 white. Again, needed some dumb evasion. Hopefully this core clear gives it to us. You tap it, and another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice. Simple enough. The All-Star, my ramp, and my Exalted champ, Noble Hierarch for a green. It's got Exalted, and you can tap it for a green, white, or blue. I think it's the most expensive 1-cost mana dork. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. But, which could be very hard to purchase after you've spent $400 to $500 on a Rasputin Green. Up next, we have Phyrexian Altar. I just needed another sack outlet. Again, we're just trying to loop Piper. Also, what Zach was talking about before, just having sack outlets. In general, is good no matter what the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Quazili Pride Mage. Up next, Cat Wizard, not relevant. Green, white, because of green and a white. Exalted. And if you pay 1 and you sacrifice it, you get to destroy target artifact or enchantment. We could keep it around to, just have that +1 keep stacking.
Get Exalted triggers.
I'm not counting, but I have been counting. I think Prismatic Piper with all of them out is like +6 right now. Rafik of the Many will keep on that Exalted train. Now, I hate this card when it's a commander. I love this card in my list. It's 1 colorless, green, white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, Human Knight. Not relevant. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. So not only is our Piper thick, he's also swinging for dubs. Swinging for dubs. So skipping Rasputin on the list here, we have Safi Eriksdottir. The reason why I have Safi in here is with Benevolent, Bodyguard, and a couple other cards I'm about to mention. They go to the graveyard, like you have to sack them to get that evasion. So we have Safi to get them back the best way we can, being limited to white and with my limited knowledge of white. This deck took a lot out of me, folks. Like this, like I'm drained. So yeah, sacrifice Safi Eriksdottir. When target creature is put in the graveyard this turn, return it to the battlefield. So you yeet Safi and you get your
yeet Safi. I love that.
Yeet Safi. So one of those cards that you're going to yeet her for is Selfless Savior. 1 white mana for a creature dog may be relevant. Stay tuned.
It's not. It's not.
Don't spoil. Sacrifice it, and another target creature you control gains indestructible till end of turn. So again, we're just protecting that pipe. Protecting that pipe. Same with Self of Spirit for colorless and a white. Creature Spirit Cleric, not relevant. Flying, you sacrifice it, and creatures you control gain indestructible till end of turn. So that one's even more nice. Get to keep all your stuff. Thanks, Self of Spirit. We have probably the, I'm going to say, I already said that Piper's thick. Now we have Shield Mate here. You sacrifice him. He costs 1 white. For a soldier, you sacrifice him, and target creature gets a big old behind. Gets +0/+4 until end of turn. Because sometimes you just have to have the bigger butt when you're, when you're swinging, so that Piper doesn't die. To go with the whole Safi thing I talked about, we have Sun Titan. 4 colorless and 2 white for a creature giant. It's got Vigilance. It's a 6/6. So 6/6 for 6 with Vig. Fantastic. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to return a card with converted mana cost. With mana value. Oh my god.
They did. It's the most recent printing. I didn't even think about that.
Ew. With converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, Safi, Self of Spirit, Self of Savior, Benevolent Bodyguard, all these things go into the bin. Let's get them back. Lastly, we have another card that I'm going to have to break my neck to read. Self note, that's 3 this list, and I'll never do that again. No more. Okay, hold on. Sorry if you hear a crack, folks.
I keep clicking my mouse. I don't mean to.
So, supply... Is it supply and demand? Yeah, supply and demand. Supply. It's a green, a white, and X. You can put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens into play. Sure. Build up a wall, sure. But we want demand. We demand. You can search your library for a multicolored card. Reveal that and put it into your hand. With that, we're going to want to grab Rasputin. We could grab Derevi or whatever, but again, Rasputin, $500 card. We're going to flex. So
Not here to
right, yeah. It's
not here to make good choices.
You could grab Rafik. There's plenty of good multicolored cards in here, but we're gonna flex. I don't even care if it's a proxy. You're gonna flex with a $500 US Rasputin.
Speaking of good multicolored cards,
yeah, Wargate, green, white, blue, and X. Search your library for a permanent card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into play. And then you shuffle your library.
I love the Alara block. I so hope we go back to Alara.
Oh, definitely. You know what? I'd be looking for some gnarly shards if that was the case.
So what I wanted to compliment you on is that your version of the deck reminds me a lot of like a food chain combo list without food chain.
Without food chain.
I thought that was just really neat. Here it is. I did something like really goofy, and you kept telling me this whole time, like, "Oh, my deck's goofy," and then it's like, it seems very resilient and very just like, you're either gonna die, or you're gonna die, or you're gonna die.
It's gonna be with a smile, but hot damn, it's gonna be fun. I don't build with white. I think the last thing I built with white was a precon I bought that I upgraded 2 cards in. And I don't even think those cards were white. I think it was the Mardu humans. I don't even think I added white cards to it. So it's been a while.
So we're going to quickly go over what cards are in both decks. So we've already talked about Altar of Brood. I don't know why it's here and here, but there's no red. It's very confusing. So we're just not going to talk about that. As Altar of the Brood is in both decks. Assault Suit is also in both decks. It's 4 for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, can't attack you, or a planeswalker you control and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature until the end of turn. If you do untap it, it equips for 3.
Speaking of both decks, are you going to be playing Thrasios?
No.
When you play? No,
no.
Me either.
Just Piper.
Yes. Piper. Okay, good. I thought. Okay, I'm glad we're.
It's.
I'm glad we have the. We can meet in the middle on that.
It's Piper Sultai for me.
Thrasios trash
card.
Yeah.
Duplicate was also in both of our lists, as it's just for Benson. It was a good colorless source, and for me, it's a shapeshifter. But the big thing is that it's amazing removal. Exiling and colorless with a body that gets bigger depending on the size of the creature, amazing. Eternal Witness is great. Not every green deck needs it, but for
I'd argue that. I think every green deck needs it. If you have a green deck and you don't have an Eternal Witness, no, it's in every green deck.
This is good for both of us. For the simple fact that if one of Benson's combo pieces or something he needs is in the grave, he can get it back. This is good for me if I want to recast one of my sorceries that I don't have access to. I'm able to recast creatures, no problem, but being able to replay a Mind Crank or replay a Mind Desire, Mind Grind is kind of impossible without something like this.
Yeah. Oh, and then all of the cards, of course, in the both deck slot, they're just green and blue to abide by us being able to switch in and out our piles.
Exactly.
So don't oh hey, they should have put this black card in. Nope, that's not we can't do that. Stipulation.
And this will also flow into our ramp, our card draw, and our interaction. Expedition map is there so that we can get either Scorched Ruins for Benson or Urborg for me. We want to be able to get these lands specifically because they help continue and further along our game plan. Helm of the Host, more Pipers is good Pipers. More any of what I have is always good.
Piper needs a helm. He's that face. He's not winning any beauty pageants. He needs that.
5
helm.
Consuming Aberrations seems fine. So that's where I'm at with life. Propaganda for me. Being able to impede people from swinging in because they're going to be very, very annoyed with what I'm doing is great. And I think Benson's kind of on the same route, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to think I have just a hot mess of a pile until it's too late.
Yeah, and we want to make sure by the time it's too late, they can't do anything. Next on the list, we have... Oh, no, we've already went over Propaganda. We're on Rogue's Passage. So... Rogue's Passage is huge in both of our lists. This guarantees Benson kills with Piper, and this guarantees for me that I'm either reanimating something or just hurting someone, which, that's equally as fine. The final card that we featured in both of our lists was Swiftfoot Boots. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, you got to get those boots.
Haste and Hexproof. You just need it.
If I'm at storm count 2,300 and -9, and I give him Astral Steel and I can't attack with him, there's no point. If I have Altar of Dementia out, sure.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no point, so I gotta have them boots. I gotta put those boots on the Piper and just swing joyfully at Director Brian.
Yes, Director Brian. We were saying we're swinging at you directly. All right, so we're moving into ramp now, so I'm just going to name the card, and Benson's going to say what it does. So, Arcane Signet.
2 colorless, taps for 1 mana in your commander's identity.
Bob.
It's got flying. It's a 0/1. Taps for 1 mana of any color.
Crop Rotation.
You sacrifice a land, you get to search for a land and put that into the battlefield.
Cultivate.
Pay 3, put 1 into your hand, 1 onto the battlefield.
Elvish Mystic.
Cute little elf, taps for a green.
Farseek.
Colorless and a green, and you get to search for a plains, island, swamp, mountain, and put it on the battlefield. Very relevant. Works for both.
Yes,
fantastic
very well.
Card.
Fellwarstone.
Tap for a color that your opponent has.
Kodama's Reach.
Already explained it with Cultivate. Different name, same game.
Rampant Growth.
Like Farseek, but worse. Because you can always...
All right, no, we were good. Soaring.
Pay 1, tap for 2, play it on turn 1, gain enemies for life.
Our interactions also pretty straightforward. Acidic Slime, Death Touch you 2 for 5. When an ETB, destroy a target artifact, enchantment, or land. Beast Within, destroy a target permanent, they get a beast. Counterspell, just counter spell. Fierce Guardianship is free if we have our commander encounter target not creature spell. Imprison in the Moon, just to be obnoxious. Mana
to be obnoxious. Yeah.
Mana Drain because it's Mana Drain. You counter a spell, you gain mana equal to its CMC. Reclamation Sage, smaller version of Acidic Slime, essentially. Yeah. Song of Dryads, just to be obnoxious too.
I love this
Electric
card.
Boogaloo.
I love this card. Oh, hey, your commander is the deck's main focus. You don't really stray from like not having him on the battlefield. Well, he's a tree now.
Yes. And yes. Void Slime, the only one I feel like is really worth reading. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Green, blue, blue.
Green, blue, blue.
Pretty solid. And our card draw, also I'd say pretty straightforward. Beast Whisper, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card for 4. Factor Fiction, so you can really
I love this card. In a game of Commander, this card's just great.
Yeah. Again,
not good at politics, but I like if anybody's kind of leaning your way, you pick them. And I usually give 5 and 0. I either make if they don't have like a Reliquary Tower or anything to keep their hand, I give them a 5 and 0. That way, I guess they can just kind of pick and choose what they want, discard the rest, and I stay on their good side.
One of my favorite things to do is watch people try to resolve Factor Fiction and decide like how to split the piles. It's it's fun. Factor Fictions are crazy. Frantic Search, you draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands, and it's 3 instant. Guardian Projects, an enchantment whenever non-token creature ETBs under your control. If it doesn't have the same name as a creature you control, or in your graveyard. Yeah, I don't like that. You draw a card.
When this card came out, I completely skipped over it. I didn't even know it was part of the set. And then Han, who's on Brunette Live mostly with Lotus, is just like, why isn't this in your deck? And he showed me the card, and so good.
Mole Drifter, typically good in any blue deck. You pay 3, you draw 2, and then it dies. No. Ristic Study.
And would you like to pay 1?
Sylvan Library.
Opponent casts a spell. Draw a card unless that player plays
That's
1.
how I feel about that card. Sylvan Library is sweet. It's 1 green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your draw step, you draw 2, and if you decide to keep them, you lose 4 life for each of those cards.
Oh, we're losing 8 life. We don't care.
Yeah, no care.
We're going for it.
I will specifically keep 2, not play anything to discard so I can have effects. I have done that. It is sweet. It's a very look at me, King of Castle type move. And Urban Evolution, 3 green and blue, sorcery, draw 3, you can play an additional land. Just seems pretty cool.
Boom. Oh, and even though not relevant, the card is absolute trash. I know we skipped over what he actually does, but Thrasios, the garbage hero, green and a blue, Legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. You pay 4 colorless. You get to scry 1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, you put it on the battlefield. If not, you put it into your hand.
We're not.
But trash card, don't play it.
We're literally here to use its colors. So just like they do in CDH.
And I don't own a copy of Kydel.
Yeah.
So.
Kydel would be sweet. Yeah. All right. Our lands, I think we went over anything that was relevant to our deck. Everything else, just what we would assume would be typical, Nothing too crazy.
Ash Barrens, Blighted Woodland, Breeding Pool, Command Tower, Evolving Wilds, Exotic Orchard, Fabled Passage. 5 forests, 5 islands, 1 Myrad Landscape, a Rejuvenating Springs. If you're putting Zach's list in, you're going to do 8 swamps. If you're putting mine in, you're going to do 8 plains and a Terramorphic Expanse. And if you put a Terramorphic Expanse in here and it is not the Jumpstart Rainbow Terramorphic Expanse, then don't talk to me.
Dan Scott is one of my favorite artists, so it will always be this Terramorphic Expanse.
And that's why we split our decks in half.
That's perfectly fine. He did Reform. That's all I'm saying. Name a stronger card than Reform. That's what I thought. So that was this week's episode of Parallel Thoughts. It was a doozy. We've been wanting to do this one for a while, and I'm glad we finally got to bang it out. Vincent, I really like your list. I wasn't I had no clue what you were going to do. And when you sent me the cards to put this together, I was still very unsure of what you were trying to do. I saw Exalted and was like, okay, he's just going to try to kill people. And then I saw everything else and I was like, maybe he's just going to, I don't know. But this is sweet. I really like it. I'd be curious to see how this actually plays. I know you don't build white decks, but this would be one I would love to see in paper and play against.
I like the idea of this deck. I like of my deck. I really like yours. Sultai and Reanimator and Clone. It's not my forte.
Man,
I like what I see. I wouldn't have been able to pull off the same.
It's me in a nutshell, dude.
I was completely out of my comfort zone. I should have said Tamir. Honestly, I should have just said blue,
I was very
red.
surprised when we initially thought of this idea. That was the one thing that I was like, I was guessing what color you were going to pick, and I was like, oh, definitely red. And when you said white, I was like, what? But
I think so. Like, I dug my own grave here, but I think what the association was, like, you said, hey, let's pick a color. I think I was going to the bathroom at the time, and I was like, oh, pick a color. And then I saw the white roll of toilet paper to me, and I said, oh, yeah, white.
So, before we finish everything up, I do want to quickly touch on where we think our deck's set at a, competitive level.
Where your deck does.
I think mine's fine at a casual table. The milling might annoy people, but ultimately, this isn't going to be a deck that's going to run the table. I mean, it'll do cool stuff, but it feels very much like why I like playing Glenn so much is it scales to the table pretty well, right? So,
yeah, if
someone.
And mine is clearly gonna, when Grand Prix start going around again, this is gonna be the meta.
I'm pretty sure. You got Derevi, and you have Thrasios. What else do you need?
Exactly. I think force to be reckoned with. I don't think people are going to even remember Demonic Consultation, Thassa's Oracle after they see this.
White Storm is coming at you. But
White Storm.
But that's all we got for you today. Benson, you want to do some closing thoughts?
My closing thought is, again, I think I said it halfway through the episode, but I'm not going to build with white anymore because this was not only challenging, but like look at this hot mess. You complimented me on it. I still don't even know how. I don't even know. And for anybody who's a content creator, if you're doing a deck list, don't choose cards that are sideways. Other than that, though, to get down to the nitty gritty, we have a patron. So if you go to Patreon and Into the 99, if you like what you listen to or watch, be it Brewing It Live with Han and Lotus, Parallel Thoughts with us, the Into the 99 podcast, Brian, Dan, Lotus, Ryan, me, Zach, and sometimes a guest. Could that guest be you? Maybe. We also have a merch store, because if you already like the 99, why not just get into it when you can wear it? And that's about it for me. What about you, Zach?
I just want to say thanks for sticking in with us. I know these decks were something, so please, if you have any...
we all know that they left after seeing yours, so if anybody wants to write peanut butter sandwich in the chat, just so I know that you made it to the end. That you actually hear, so that I actually know that you heard my list out. Just peanut butter sandwich. Hit me up on that in our Discord or in the YouTube comments. Just peanut butter sandwich, and then I'll feel a little bit better about my my pile.
I'd also, if you like what you saw, please just let us know if you would do something different, or if there was a blatant card that we missed. Just tell us. But with that, I think that's going to be all for us. I've been Necros.
Parallel Thoughts, baby. Hot mess.
But with style.
Just a hot mess.
I've been Necrozach. That's Benson. Director Brian somewhere in the multiverse. We are all wishing you guys a good night, and catch you next time.
Peace out, Rainbow Trouts.